Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. Hope everyone had a good break. Just really excited to introduce our next speaker. She's in very high demand, and you guys all know the role that CISA plays in our industry. And Elena Clark is assistant director there, very much in the thick of things, industry players, stakeholder engagement. And I tell you, when we saw the Secure by Design alert that CISA put out last year, we gobbled it up and we thought we really need to have Elena here to talk about Secure by Design here at the Security by Design conference. So just really want to thank Elena for her time and bring Elena Clark out. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
A little ditty about New York.
I was warned about the lights. They were right. Well, good afternoon. Thank you so much for having me. As Fred said, my name is Elena Clark, and I'm the Assistant Director for Stakeholder Engagement at the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, or CISA for short. I know quite a few of you are familiar with the agency, and thank you to Daniel and to Chris for mentioning some of our resources and the work that we're doing in this space. And so I'm responsible at the agency for the Stakeholder Engagement Division, which is really the foundation of our voluntary partnership at the agency. So overseeing all that work that we're doing with stakeholders across the 16 critical infrastructure sectors, all those boards and councils. You heard Chris mention the CSRB, and also the international partnerships as well, and public awareness. And I'm gonna kind of hit on all of this as we talk about Secure by Design and what the agency is doing there. And so I want to spend a few minutes today talking with you guys about four things. First, I want to talk about the threat, because I think it's really important. As I'm talking to the 16 critical infrastructure sectors, I'm making sure that they understand what the agency and the US government has been saying for over the past, I would say, 12 to 14 months. So it's really important because as we start to talk about Secure by Design, understanding the implications that it has right now for our adversaries is important to understand that context. And then I want to talk about Secure by Design and specifically what CISA has been doing with our international partners, with our critical infrastructure partners, and then also touch on AI and how we've been working in this space as well as it relates to Secure by Design. And then I want to end on a little bit of a lighter note, because I feel like I'll start on a little bit of a heavier note and talk about some public awareness efforts and some activity I was actually doing earlier this morning here in New York, because it's really important. We've been talking a lot about industry and technology, but there's a piece of it that we haven't been mentioning, is that just raising the bar on that Secure by Demand with the consumer and the customers. And so it's really important. And so this is another area that our agency has been very focused on, and me personally as well. And so when we talk about the threat environment, right now we have an extremely complex and evolving threat environment. One where the cyber attacks that we are seeing are only going to continue to increase. And we're not just talking about the cyber criminals, we're also talking about those four big nation state actors with the PRC, with Iran, North Korea, and Russia. For the purpose of today's conversation, I want to just focus in on the PRC, but that doesn't at all take away from the threats and the attacks and the activity that we're seeing as it relates to the criminal actors and the other three nation state actors. So the PRC, the US government has been saying, is probably one of the most broadest, most active and persistent cyber threats that we are seeing, not only to the US government, but to our US critical infrastructure. And that is so important for us to kind of just let that sit in for a minute. And so at the top, what I like to talk about is bringing you back to the 2023 D&I National Threat Assessment. And I know the 2024 was just released, but it's really important because back in 2023, the D&I put out the annual threat assessment talking about how the PRC, it's not aspirational if they're on our US critical infrastructure, but we have found them on our US critical infrastructure, not for intelligence gathering reasons, but for reasons to potentially create societal chaos in the event of military operations in the Indo-Pacific. And so that's really important that we have found them pre-positioning on US critical infrastructure. And that came out last year in the 2023 threat assessment and reiterated again this year as well. And then last year, CISA, along with our interagency partners, put out a product on Volt Typhoon. And then we put out a product on living off the land. And then earlier this year, you had my boss, Jen Easterly, along with the head of the FBI, along with the head of NSA on the day he was retiring, which I find so impressive to his commitment to service, and the new National Cyber Director testify about the PRC threat. And having those 4 senior executives in the US government testifying together on the PRC threat. And then CISA put out another product recently on Volt Typhoon. And so as I'm talking with the critical infrastructure partners, I'm walking them through this to make sure that they understand just how the US government is pivoting in what we are saying to them and the concerns that we have, and that everybody is susceptible to this. In the recent Volt Typhoon product, we name specific sectors that we have found them in. We also name the territory of Guam. And so we are working in 3 tracks with our critical infrastructure partners that we have identified this activity within their systems and helping them to, 1, evict the actor, 2, helping them to mitigate as well, and then 3, really on the resilience piece as well. And so resilience right now is kind of our big message to critical infrastructure partners. You have to be resilient because it could be if and when this potentially happens to you. So we're really trying to ensure that all industry partners understand kind of the impact of what is happening right now. And so one thing to kind of take away from this is just how far the US government and CISA is leaning forward in this messaging and this engagement with our critical infrastructure partners. And so we really need to, when you think about secure by design, we really have to come together and truly embrace a culture where products and software are designed, developed, tested, and we decrease the exploitations prior to going to market. And that has been a huge champion and message that our director, Jen, has had now for over the past year. Because otherwise we're just playing catch up. And I think we all, and that's why we're all here. That's why you've put on the conference for us, Security Compass has put on this conference, is because we're just continually playing catch up. And so this really requires a shift in incentives to prioritize security over speed to market. And we've heard a few of the presenters prior to me, I think Chris and a couple others mentioned this as well, as just shifting the incentives in this area. One example that we love to provide at CISA, some of you might have heard it, but if you haven't, it's a really good analogy, is if you were to go buy a car, you would not then go buy a seatbelt separately and then have to figure out how to get it installed and then have to bring it back weekly for updates. It just would be unacceptable in the auto industry, and it should be unacceptable to all of us as well. And so we really want to shift this conversation and shift the demand so there's security by demand within these products. We want these products to be secure by design products to be just a core business requirement and part of your core business model. And that's one thing that we have been talking with executives about as well, is trying to also raise this, not only to your CIO CISOs, but really raising the conversation within the companies as well. And so we are also looking, and we've been asking very publicly for secure configurations as these products are coming out, because again, you're asking the end user to try and figure out how to install MFA or figuring out logging or single sign-on. And so we want to ensure that not only are the products secure, but they're secure out of the box. And that we don't have to, as consumers, as individuals, as companies, try and figure out how to add on those security features. And we feel very, very strongly that right now, disproportionately, the burden has been placed on that end user to figure all of this out. And so we really are asking for this shift in how we do business. And we're asking and seeking a new model in how we do software and product development as well. We truly can't do this alone. And this is why we've been working really closely with industry on this messaging. And again, we just really appreciate Security Compass kind of being out there in the front on this and just having this as kind of your motto, I would say, from a company perspective. And so one of the things that CISA has done over the past year is put out a couple products, and I think Chris talked about these as well. So last April, we came out with our Secure by Design principles document with those three lines of efforts focused around taking ownership of customer service, customer security outcomes, embracing radical transparency and accountability, and leading from the top. And that third one is something that you're actually just going to hear, whether it's Secure by Design or other messaging from our agency, is just the importance of having your C-suite, your executives, your boards committed to cybersecurity, and understanding that you need to be making cybersecurity decisions, just like you're making budget decisions about the finances of your company, that you need to be investing also on the cyber side as well. And then we released an update in October of last year. And one thing I'll note with this, as I tie it back to international, is the first product that we released was co-sealed with about 6 international partners. The one we released in October had 17 international partners, governments or organizations that signed on to it as well. And that's sending a really strong message. And so in between April and October, we had done a ton of work with the international community, with the researcher community, seeking feedback on what we had originally released about a year ago this month, to update it for the October one, doing red pen sessions with partners as well. But I would say when this came out in October, myself and Jen, we were at Singapore Cyber Week. And we had the international community coming up to us and saying thank you to CISA, to the US government, for really leading in this messaging, and that they needed us out in front. And they're very excited to sign on to this message. And you're gonna see that more and more, not just with the Secure by Design, but other products and resources that our agency is putting out there. You're gonna start to see a bigger trend with the international community co-sealing and multi-sealing products alerts with us, because we're really trying to send a strong message, not just as a US government, but multilaterally with other governments about what we're doing. And it's great. I've been talking with a couple companies that are not US-led companies, and so it's great, again, just to see that collaboration here today as well. A couple other areas that we're working in trying to help kind of get that message out there is last November, we actually started a new Secure by Design alert series, and we launched it with a blog from Eric Goldstein, our head of cyber, and I'm sure many of you know him, and Bob Lord, our Secure by Design, I would say, champion, kind of talking about this so that as there are vulnerabilities that are being exploited, being able to kind of put out an alert and really call attention to it so industry knows what is happening. So we put out about 4 or 5 alerts, I think 5 actually, since the November timeframe. And so one thing we would ask to our partners is to take a look at these various products that we have put out. A lot of partners say, how can we help? And one is providing us feedback. What are we missing? Are there areas that we can be doing more work in? Everything that we do is voluntary in nature, and it's to provide resources back to the community. So we need that feedback from you. It's so important. So any feedback that you do have on the alert series that we've done, on the Secure by Design principles that we released in October, please let us know. We welcome that feedback from you. The other thing that we have been doing is Secure by Design summits. So we started the first one, and we did one internal to our organization. And I say that because, as many of you are representing companies here today, one of the things CISA felt that we needed to do was to educate our workforce. So we have over 3,500 employees. So trying to ensure that all of them, regardless of what their job responsibilities are, understood what Secure by Design is. And so bringing in experts that we have hired to help educate them on kind of where CISA is going and what we're doing. And then we also brought in external partners as well to brief the workforce and try and really uplift the workforce at CISA to understand as a whole what this means. We then did a summit with the K-12 EdTech community. This community, I would just say K-12 in general, has really been disproportionately impacted, as we've all seen with ransomware attacks and other types of attacks. And brought that community together as well, talking about Secure by Design. And we actually launched a pledge, and we have 12 K-12 EdTech communities that have companies that have signed on to that pledge and committed to the Secure by Design principles. And then that it culminated actually in a White House event with the First Lady calling attention to cybersecurity within the K-12 community. And you think about the K-12 community, they sit on so much data for our children that is sensitive, information about them, about families, medical history. And so being able to protect the data that these schools sit on is so important. And then we did a summit with academia as well. And so looking to do more of these and continue to work with different parts of the sectors and the ed tech, the technical community to do additional listening sessions. And so what are we doing kind of in 2024 and where are we going is one of the questions that we get. So our Secure by Design team is really going to be focusing on the open source community to drive a Secure by Design approach and really understand the costs. And then we're also going to be focusing in on increasing secure by demand. Really, again, we're trying to shift that so that you have a customer demand that is requesting that these products that they have in their hands, whether it's in their businesses, in their homes, in their communities, are secure as well. And then really just understanding the cost implications of security and insecurity too. So on the AI front, we are very committed to secure by design principles for new and emerging technologies. And I know we had an earlier panel that Daniel did on this area as well. And one thing I would say is that AI has just been has had a phenomenal impact on our society. When you think of what it has done for the healthcare community, what it can do for the healthcare community, just being able to empower those small and medium businesses and just revolutionize education as well. And again, everything that Daniel was presenting on earlier today, just the power and the way that it just can help make our lives easier. But the one thing to be cautious about is, as much as this is going to just revolutionize our life, make things easier, it's going to make it that much easier for the adversaries as well. And so we have to be very methodical and very intentional about the design, the development, and the deployment, especially in US critical infrastructure as we're doing this. And one of the updates in our Secure by Design release in October was noting that on the AI front as well, you need to have Secure by Design. And so that applies as well. A couple things that we've done on the AI front is CISA did release an AI roadmap, kind of outlining where we're going and what we're doing, and the Department of Homeland Security has also released one as well. So from the CISA perspective, we're focused in on 5 lines. The first is to advance cyber defense. So we call CISA America's Cyber Defense Agency. So we are responsible for protecting the .gov. So what does that mean? The US government agencies that have a .gov literally in their email addresses. And so really making sure that we're able to use AI to help better defend that .gov community. And then as we're defending the .gov community, then putting out that information also to our critical infrastructure partners. The second one is just resiliency of critical infrastructure against the malicious use of AI by actors. Also, again, Secure by Design for implementation. It's just a constant theme through everything that we do. The other one is just collaborating with our industry partners. This is one that we can't do alone. The expertise is truly out there in the industry. And then the 5th line is focus more internally on the workforce. So CISA actually just had a hiring event last week on AI and bringing in more talent in this area, but then also working with our industry partners too, because as much as we're looking for that talent, we know you are as well. So really trying to increase the talent that we have internally to help us on the cyber defense side and the work that we're doing with our critical infrastructure partners. The other thing I want to mention on this is that in November, the UK also released a document about AI principles, and we co-sealed with them, as did other international partners. Our director went out to this. The vice president was actually out at this event, as well as other world leaders. And so I think the big theme, I would say, to take away from both the work that's happening right now in the AI space and the Secure by Design space it's just that collective voice that we are seeing from the international community. And that is huge. I am over international at the agency as well. And this is one area I have been leaning into. We have our first attaché over in the UK. But this is an area I've been in the process of briefing the Hill as well in recent weeks, and one that they're very interested in. And how can we do this? How do we work with our international partners to better protect our U.S. critical infrastructure, to better work together, to send a message to the adversaries that we are on the same page? And so you're going to continue to see that theme throughout the work that CISA is doing. And I'll say most partners are wondering why they're not on our documents. Why is their logo, their country's logo not on ours? So trying to work with as many international partners to co-seal, multi-seal alerts and guidances that we're putting out there. And then on a little bit of a lighter note, I said on the public awareness side, so we talk about the work that we're doing with the vendor community, with the critical infrastructure partners, and one piece of this and the international community that we're missing is that public awareness and the individual and just building their awareness about cybersecurity. And so when you think about it, on the physical side, we all know what to expect and what to do. We're here in New York. New York MTA actually created If You See Something, Say Something. They launched it, and then the Department of Homeland Security partnered with them to take it nationwide and internationally as well. And so we all know what to do. But when it comes to the cyber side, individuals don't know what to do, and they don't necessarily feel empowered to take cyber into their own hands. And we're trying to change that narrative with them. And so we launched a new program in late September of last year called Secure Our World. We took a very data-driven approach in the development of this program in doing research about the different age groups and how they receive information, the channels in which they receive it, what has the most impact, how are we going to do behavioral change. And so we launched this program, and on launch day we had partners, we announced partnerships with Google and Microsoft, MasterCard, and we had 3 nonprofits as well, because they're key to this, the work that we do, whether it's with your small and medium businesses or just the general public or some of these national level organizations. And so we had them as partners on day one with this program. And so the program is focused in on 4 easy steps right now as far as behavioral change. One is having strong passwords, updating your software, enabling MFA, and identify and report phishing. And so we've developed a lot of content that's easy, that's digestible around these 4 concepts with little vignettes, fact sheets on it. We developed a public service announcement as well. And over the fall and winter months, we ran ad buys nationwide. So you may or may not have heard or seen this, and maybe not resonated with you that this was a program that we were running. I always heard it in our supermarket, and my 6-year-old son did not understand why I was getting so excited to hear the radio in the store. I don't think he knew what the radio was to start with, but then he didn't understand my excitement. But we had ads on TV and movie theaters, and we'll be doing some more also over this next, probably, I would say 8 to 12 months. One of the biggest partnerships I was really excited that we announced was with the NFL at the Super Bowl. And this was a goal that I had for like a year or 2. It was a stretch goal that I thought would be for 2025, but in 4 months, the NFL agreed to partner with us. If you've ever been to a Super Bowl, they have an NFL experience that leads up to the day of the Super Bowl, and they put our content throughout that NFL experience, and then they also put it in the stadium on game day. And they've committed to work with us and the 30, I think it's 32 teams. Sorry, there's a bigger NFL fan in the room, let me know. But I think it's 32 teams that they've committed to work with us and the individual teams so that in the off season, we can get this program into the individual stadiums for the 2024 to 2025 season. And so we're really proud of that partnership. This morning, I was actually at NASDAQ, and they put on the screens outside in Times Square the program as well. So we had the opportunity to go down and do a photo op with them, which was, again, just a great opportunity to try and highlight what we're doing with additional partners. We have some other big partners in the queue where we'll be announcing those partners in the coming weeks, and some new content that we'll be unveiling at RSA as well around this. As you can tell, I am very passionate. I was at the start of us launching If You See Something, Say Something, and I saw the power that that had, and I saw the power that it had within our communities, and that is where I want to take this program, because we have got to increase the awareness. I need my parents to know how to do certain things to protect themselves. I need my children to protect themselves. I need the community. I need the resources, the small and medium businesses that I go and shop at, that I work with. I need them to protect themselves. And so we've got to raise the baseline, whether that is we're doing work on the technology side with Secure by Design, whether in the AI field. This is so important as we start to think through, again, just tying this back to originally what I was saying with the threat. We are in a very interesting and unique place right now, in a very complex threat environment, and being able to ensure that our U.S. critical infrastructure that we rely on every day of our lives, whether that's the water that we drink, the cars, the gas that we put in our cars, the electricity that powers our home, we have got to protect our infrastructure, and we could not do that without you. And so if there is anything that we can do to better partner and better work with you, please let me know. Again, I'm over our kind of C-suite executive level partnership work that we do with the sectors. And so I absolutely love to sit down and make sure that I'm getting you into the right place at our organization, whether that's with our threat hunting team, vulnerability management, our Secure by Design, our AI folks. We have incredible talent, but so do you. And we want to make sure that we are bringing those two together so that we can have a better and safer environment. So with that, I will pause. I would love to take any questions that you might have in the room. Oh, actually, sorry, before questions, I forgot. I was going to show you all, sorry, I said I was going to end on a fun note. Well, here are the two products, which I think Chris had the Secure by Design one, but there was our roadmap for AI. And then I was going to show you the PSA that we unveiled last September. If you might recognize a kind of theme, I'll move off to the side, with the creation of it. And so we're pretty excited. You will see some of these characters continue in some of the content that we create and we release in the coming weeks.
For more information on how to keep yourself and those you care about safe online, go to CISA.gov/secure our world.
And so thank you. We were very intentional. You saw the logo for the program at the end to not be the CISA logo. And so again, we worked and wanted to ensure that it was a logo that would resonate with companies. We wanted a non-government feel for the whole program as well, and also want to be able to partner with our international partners. So we are in active conversations with the international community about taking this worldwide as well. And so this is 60 seconds, but we also have a 30-second and a 15-second, and we have a lot of other content that we've developed with the program as well. So thank you. And actually, I will say you will see Kevin is the dad. We've named all the characters. Kevin is the dad, Max is the son. You will see them in the near future and in some new content that we develop. But with that, we'd love to take any questions that you have in the room or online.
Yeah, thank you, Elena. Thank you. Yeah, Elena's kindly agreed to take some questions, so we appreciate that. Our schedule is pretty full. And just remind you of something you said earlier. You're charged with stakeholder engagement. We shouldn't pound her with like questions on technical specifications.
I am not Bob Lord.
No, so, but you're very well briefed in a lot of these issues. So we'll start in the room here. We have a question in the middle. If you can get a microphone to this gentleman. I should know his name by now.
Can I start?
Yeah, you start.
there we
Sure. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so during the time that we're doing a lot of research and working with customers and doing security in-house, we're kind of developing a lot of best practices around security posture, security resiliency. One example is we created a top 10 CI/CD that Chris also shared before, and then we collaborated with OWASP. My question is how we can help. So basically, we're building a lot of things in-house, and I think the things that we're building and all the methodology can be very useful for other enterprises and especially the government. So what's kind of like the best way to improve security and be part of the community that you're building?
Absolutely. So a couple ways. One, we have some very formal channels in how you can engage with the agency. So for the 16 critical infrastructure sectors, 8 of them CISA is responsible for. 2, which probably apply to quite a few here in the room, which is the IT sector and the comms sector. So if you're not a formal member of those 2 sectors, we'd love to get you connected in so that you can formally be a part of them and kind of receive communications and kind of see how that process works. The other is, please reach out to me. I am regularly helping industry partners get connected in with the various groups to brief them on the work that they're doing, bring to our attention what is happening as well. So it's been very helpful for me to better understand Security Compass, for example, and the work that you're doing, and how do we better align some of where CISA is going. And so please let us know. I will make sure you have my contact information. If for some reason you don't, I am on LinkedIn, so just reach out that way as well. But Security Compass is welcome to share my contact information with you so we can get you connected in with the team.
We'll do that. And pass the mic to your neighbor there. Oh, you had the same question?
Okay.
Okay. Is there another question in the room, or I'll go to the online? I'll go online. You're going to get tough questions, aren't you? I have one here. I don't know if you can address. What is CISA doing to ensure secure elections, verify election integrity, and verify software machines are not made or controlled by adversaries?
So it's a good question. So we are responsible for the election subsector. Mm-hmm. So that's a subsector under one of the 16. So through our regional work, so we have 10 regions, and we have about 600, give or take, I would say, personnel stationed across the entire country, working in your backyards with your community. And most recently, we hired in 10 election security advisors. ESAs is what because we have to put an acronym with everything. So election security advisors. And so we really like to work with our state and local election officials to ensure that they have the tools that they need and to really help uplift their voices, because they're the trusted voices within the communities as well. So our regional folks are doing a lot of work with election officials locally. Okay,
good. Another question here, it's actually by someone named Tim online. He starts with difficult question time.
Okay.
Talk about the recent report on the intrusion into Exchange Online in summer 2023. He goes on about talking about biggest suppliers that are allowing speed to market to trump security. So he says, how can these companies be incentivized to set a better example? So it's sort of about incentivizing some of these companies to do the right thing.
It's a great question. So for those that I think most are familiar with the report, but if you're not, just a little bit of background. So Cybersecurity Review Board was stood up through a presidential order. They've done 3 reviews so far. The first one was on Log4j, so on a vulnerability. The second one was on Lapsus, so on a threat group. And then the third one was on the Microsoft Exchange issue that occurred last summer. And so 3 different types of reviews that they've done. This board is made up of individuals within government as well as the private sector, so very even balance of government and industry partners on it. As much as it is a CISA board in that we administer and fund it, it is independent, so they do work and then independently of the director on their recommendations, and then provide those recommendations to the director, up to the secretary, and then the president as well. And so I think because I was just talking about this yesterday, there's a recommendation number 7 in there that talks about how we can, without regulation, kind of pull a few different levers to try and better incentivize partners to build more secure by design products. So I can't remember off the top of my head because I have.
It's on the radar.
It's on, but recommendation 7 in the report is a really good one to kind of go to for Tim.
Okay, so that was really top of mind for you. That's good. Think of a question. Oh, you got one, Rohit? Go ahead. Someone get a microphone to Rohit. You might not get the microphone back.
Elena, you talked about secure by demand, which is really interesting. And so one thing that people have talked about for a really long time is if you can get the consumers to demand secure products, that's going to be a big mover in the industry, and maybe even address some of what you were just talking about. But how do you get the average consumer who doesn't really know anything about cybersecurity to demand it? Like what are you proposing there?
So we've been actually going to maybe some non-traditional partners that you wouldn't necessarily think CISA would partner with. I've had the opportunity to do a couple webinars with AARP, hitting a very different audience. I will never forget this. I had my parents watch in. It was a Facebook live stream to the first one, and after they finished, they're like, "We don't know what you said, but we're updating our software right now on our phones." And I was like, "Great." So like, all right, at least I have 2 people from the webinar so that updated it. So I think we need to think beyond just our traditional partners. I just did an engagement with the Girls and Boys Club of America. And how do we get to some of these different organizations to help better educate their membership on security and cybersecurity and make them feel empowered? And so we are trying to do that. I've had a very concerted effort in bringing in somebody who kind of has worked with some of these other types of national level organizations. And so we're trying to look at it from that perspective nationally and trying hitting some of those groups to help kind of drive through their membership some of this messaging.
Good.
Those are just two groups off the top of my head that I've worked with in the recent months.
Must be some other questions from the group here. Who can go next? Okay, we'll go online. This one is very philosophical, I think, Elena. Does empathy play a crucial role in managing change, especially in Fed DoD? How do you develop trust with assessors to streamline the process? Does that make sense to you?
Yes or no? I'll try and answer it. So as far as empathy, I've always been on the voluntary partnership side. So my job, since I've been at the Department of Homeland Security for almost 20 years now, and so it's been my job to develop relationships with state and local partners, with national level organizations, and with industry partners, and it's built on a foundation of trust. And so the one thing I like to do is make sure that people get to know me and who I am, know my family, kind of just my principles and kind of what I'm about, so they get a better sense of trust as they start to build the relationship with me from a government perspective. That's also why I absolutely love doing in-person engagements. COVID was really tough coming into this role and not being able to meet people in person and have them get to know me a little bit. But that trust, I would say, has throughout my career been something that has truly helped me, even during difficult times and difficult issues I've had to work at the department or at the agency, and just being able to pick up the phone, ask a question of a partner and try and get a better sense of why something might have happened and gone in a certain direction. And then it also helps to kind of bring down temperatures if one of us makes a misstep, because we will at times, but you need to be able to have the trust, the relationship, the empathy to kind of come back together and be able to work together. So that's at least the approach. So I don't know if I completely answered his question, but that's how I like to approach it.
That's good. I think that's good. And here's one from Alex online. As a result of the amazing CISA initiative to partner with other governments, should we expect CISA materials in other languages, Spanish, for example?
So they are in other languages. So we have quite a few materials in other languages, and I just know this because I was talking with my team yesterday. So our Secure Our World materials have actually been translated into 8 languages. The Secretary of Homeland Security has said as we are putting out key documents and materials, there are 8 specific languages. Spanish is one of them, and I apologize, I have not memorized them off the top of my head that we have translated them to, but there are other key documents that we have translated to other languages, specifically to Spanish as well. If there are materials that you are looking for that you're not seeing translated, please let us know, because if we haven't done it, that's something that we can definitely look into doing.
Okay, good. And yeah, there was a question about security by design, and how would you rate how American society is doing versus other countries?
I don't know if it's American society, because you're talking about technology companies that are worldwide, so I think we're all dealing with the same
industry.
industry in general.
Yeah.
And so, again, I think it goes back to some of the feedback that we've gotten from the international government bodies that have been very supportive of the direction that we're going with Secure by Design. So I think everybody feels that it hasn't been there, and that we need to do more of it.
Questions pop up here? Well, I think we're running out of questions, so I think we should let Elena go on her way. And I know it's very tough fitting into your schedule, Elena, so I really appreciate it. And I think it's really important with the leadership role that CISA plays in the industry to hear from you today. So thank you for doing this.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.